So it's an autumn day. The weather is wonderful. It's just cold enough for a scarf, but it's not cold enough for a heavy winter coat. And my work friend and I decide we're going to go downstairs and get some coffee. I'm thinking about a cappuccino, maybe with a little cinnamon or nutmeg. It's going to be so good. And we come off the elevator and we round the corner and my friend stops me. A child goes blind every minute. She says the sidewalks are covered in words written in sidewalk chalk in bright colors like orange, blue, green, yellow. Rates of blindness will double by year 2020. We want to read all the messages, so we shuffle forward a little bit, but we don't have to go very far. They're all around us. We're surrounded by these words. 25% of all visually impaired are women. I walk over these words as I go back up to my office. I step through them when I go to teach my classes. Our charity's mission is to stop blindness before it starts. I wonder if my students will read them, if they'll think of their professor when they see them. 25% of all visually impaired are women. Do they see me as defective? If not, will the sidewalks change their mind? The story of the sidewalks is a powerful one, and it's all too common. It narrates blindness or life with any disability as a kind of loss. In this story, blindness ends everything. It takes away a person's ability to love, fight, laugh, and replaces it with one measure of quality: vision. And it's not just a battle between me and the medical community. It affects the way blind people talk about themselves. I know blind people who introduce themselves with their diagnosis, like it's part of their handshake. Hi, I'm Pete, I have glaucoma. I'm Sally, I have retinitis pigmentosa. What do you like to do, Sally? Well, having retinitis pigmentosa is a pretty full-time job. I have a problem with that. So this is how I like to introduce myself. I'm Emily. I'm a blind poet and writing teacher. I like to cook, I like to sing, and I travel with a guide dog. And I use the word blind deliberately. See, when people hear blind, they often think lost, inept, ignorant, incompetent. And I really want them to hear blind and think, oh, okay, her vision doesn't work like mine does. I need large print and sometimes braille. I can't pluck my own eyebrows. I've tried. I was scolded by friends and parents not to try again. And I can't drive a car yet. So if there are any scientists out there, I'd really appreciate you getting on that. But the problem is that people hear blind and they don't know to expect someone like me. They expect other characters to show up in my place. He objects as well. So who do they expect instead? Well, they expect one of three people: the victim, the superhero, or the unspeakable. And I'll illustrate how these characters work by giving them all the same question. Isn't blindness a challenge? So if you ask the victim, isn't blindness a challenge? The victim says, well, duh, of course it is. I can't even drive. And 70% of all blind people are unemployed. And there's not braille everywhere I need it to be. And restaurant people are rude to me. Waiters don't ask me if I need a menu. Blindness sucks. And the problem with the victim is not that they're lying. In fact, a lot of those things are true. 70% of blind people are unemployed. And waiters do ask my friends what I'd like to eat instead of asking me. The problem is not that these are lies, but that it's what people expect. For the victim, blindness ends the story. Everything in their life can be traced back to their disability. They can't get married or have a career or win an award because their disability gets in the way. And again, the problem is that people expect the victim to show up. They're kind of comforted when the victim shows up because that's what they thought disability would be like. Then there's the superhero. And when people say, hey, isn't blindness hard? The superhero says, no way, it's a breeze. Look at all our technology. There's nothing I can't do. I can do absolutely anything. I've got Braille where I need it, and I can just try and try and try, and everything I do will be perfect. And what the superhero isn't telling you is, I don't try things that I won't be perfect at. Because if I do, everybody will know that the disability is just as big of a problem as they thought it would be. So you've got the victim who says disability is the worst. And you've got the superhero who says, oh my God, I don't want to be a victim, so I'm going to overcompensate all the time. I'm never going to let anyone see me struggle, because if they do, they'll just think I'm a victim in disguise. But the third character is a little bit scarier. The thing is, people don't ask the unspeakable if blindness is a challenge, because they don't want to talk about it at all. So if I meet someone new, and she loves to sing, and she loves to write, and she loves to cook, we won't talk about disability because it's the thing we don't share. I can't ask her for help because she gets uncomfortable. I can't tell her how I've put Braille labels on all my spices because that's a blind thing. So I learned that that part of myself is something I can't talk about. It's something I should keep quiet about. And sometimes the unspeakable comes around when people say, don't ask her that. Don't look at her. Don't ask her that. I hear this a lot in stores when parents want to admonish their kids who want to go, why is she traveling with that dog? Why does she have a dog? And the parents go, don't ask her that. Because they don't want the answer. They don't want anybody to talk about disability. Maybe if we don't talk about it, it'll just go away. And the it there could be the disability, but it could also be me. And there's really not a good way for me to tell which one it is. So why does disability make people uncomfortable? I think they're scared of having to play these characters themselves. Disability is not an exceptional experience. It touches race and gender and culture, but we don't like to think about that. The thing is, disability is the moment when you graduate with a really respectable law degree, and you want to go work at a prestigious law firm, and you can't work there because you're a wheelchair user and the law firm is in a historical building with no ramps or elevators. Doesn't mean you're not a good lawyer, but you can't be a lawyer there. Disability is the moment when we can all do a task in 20 minutes, but you need 30 minutes. We stop looking at how well you're going to do. We stop focusing on the quality of your work, and we start going, ooh, they need 10 more minutes. That's all we seem to be able to focus on. If you look around you, you're in a room that seats 150 people. Put your hands on the arms of your chair. All these chairs are shaped the same. And this is just a stab in the dark, but I'm pretty sure you're not. Pretty sure none of us are chair-shaped either. So what's the message of a room like this? The message is that the people who show up should all be the same. We don't expect disability to show up, and when it does, we get uncomfortable. Because all we can focus on is the fact that it's that 10 extra minutes you need. It's that ramp you need. It's the fact that your body is too big or too small for these chairs. So how do we make it work? How do we connect with disabled people. If I don't want to play the victim, the superhero, or the unspeakable, who do I want to be? I'll illustrate with a few stories. I have a good friend who used to go shopping with me. We would go on these long marathon shopping days, and we'd start at like 7 a.m., and we'd go get coffee, and then we'd shop for a while, and we'd stop for lunch, and then we would shop a little longer, and it would be happy hour somewhere, so we'd go get a glass of wine, and then we'd shop a little bit more, and then we'd go get dinner. And she and I traveled really well together because she used a wheelchair and I used a white cane. So I would hold on to the arm of her wheelchair and I'd swing my white cane, and people really got out of our way. It's kind of nice. And people always said, how do you guys work so well together? I don't understand. And I said, well, she's the eyes and I'm the arms. So she tells me, hey, I want that pink sweater up there. It's on the top shelf. It's on sale. And I say, I don't know which one is the pink one. And she'd say, well, it's over to your left. It's up a little bit. And I would get her what she needed. And she'd tell me where the sales were. So it was a really good arrangement. But I know some people will hear that story and they'll say, well, she was disabled, so she gets how to work with you. But that's not always the case. It's not that you have to have a disability to work with someone who has a disability. I remember a time in college when a good friend called to invite me over for a movie night. And he said, hey, I'm making black bean burgers and we're going to watch war documentaries. Do you want to come over and watch it? And before I could say, sure, I'd love to, he said, wait a second, do you watch movies? And I explained that, yes, I do watch movies, and you just have to tell me what's going on the screen sometimes, but I'm usually pretty with it. I can follow movies. And he said, cool, come on over. And in that exchange, he didn't say, wow, it's such a miracle that you want to enjoy movies like the rest of us. And he didn't say, I'm not telling her what's on the screen, she can figure it out. And he didn't say, oh, poor you, I'm not even going to invite you over because, I mean, you are blind and movies are visual. He let me be myself instead of having to be one of these other people. So that's the picture of inclusion that I want to build. I want to erase the messages from those sidewalks several years ago. Because even though they were written one time on one campus, they're still here. They're written everywhere where disability is the reason somebody doesn't get fair treatment or disability makes someone uncomfortable. The sidewalk messages are stamped across every surface you travel on. I want to erase those messages and replace them with three-dimensional people who are unafraid to tell their stories because they know what they have to say actually has value. I want to wipe away medical statistics and tragic figures and limited templates. And I want to feel and hear and see people all around me telling their stories. I want a chaos of stories because people recognize that we're tired of this situation. So this stage is yet another piece of that long, long sidewalk. And I found my place on it. But I don't want to be up here alone. So won't you join me? Thank you.